All right, we're going to get started here. So, we're going to start with pencil and eraser for our base. I'm going to leave this over to the side here for while we're drawing. Yeah, and we're going to get started. So, one thing I will suggest with this drawing today is having a ruler might be really helpful. Um, but I will be doing it without a ruler for the most part. But just if you'd like a little bit of like straighter lines, then I would suggest getting a ruler. So we are going to start out with our house, um, starting off with a pretty big rectangle as our base. And yeah, so if you don't have a ruler with you, something that does help is if you fold or if you have a piece of paper, you can use that as a ruler. And this is a cool tip that I use for all of the houses that I draw to find the middle if I'm adding a pointed roof, is if you draw diagonal lines from the corners, you find the exact middle of your um, rectangle without having to do any measurements or math, which is always nice. So if you use a piece of paper or a ruler, and that can find you the middle of your house here. And I draw a straight line up and then add the roof in. So my house is a little bit tall, so I'm just cutting off this bottom part and erasing it. So if you are freehanding your lines like me, you might have to do quite a bit of erasing. Um, so like I said, I would suggest a ruler. Um, one of the things that I do when I'm drawing houses is I like to use what's called a T ruler. So the ruler that I like to use is this one. It's from Artist Loft, and it's got this piece at the bottom, which means you can keep it level with the bottom of your page. So that's the ruler that I use. We will get more into like rulers when we do sketching in the new year, if we do any house sketchings. Um, yeah. All right. Our next step here is adding in some windows, and I'm going to divide my house in half here as kind of our separation between the two stories of the house, and then adding in 3 windows. So 2 on the top and then 1 on the bottom here. Also, you can erase all of our like diagonal lines and stuff. Um, yeah, so all the things we use to find the middle here of things. And then adding in a rectangle here for the door. So this is kind of our base here, and this is kind of like the start of our house. So from here, we're going to add in like window panes and frames, and the door frame and the handle, and yeah. So we're going to add in another window at the top. I made mine circular, and you kind of want to get it roughly in the middle. Um, I usually try to base it off of the distance between it and the roof parts here. So for the roof, because it is a gingerbread house, we're going to add in quite a lot of snow or frosting because it's a gingerbread house. So I kind of do a squiggly line to follow the outside of our roof, and you can see I have it go quite a bit off of where our roof is like originally ending. So it goes down quite a bit at the ends here. And this is kind of where we're going to start deviating from my sketch just a little bit. Um, I'm still going to add in some of the gumdrops on the roof. So I'm putting all of those in. They're kind of just rectangles with like rounded rounded tops. Um, yeah, and I try to keep them kind of even on either sides of the roof here. So I kind of go with like the bottom here and I draw an imaginary line across just because then we can kind of keep it looking a little bit more even. So now I'm going to add in our window panes and I'm just adding in a slightly smaller rectangle on the inside of our windows. I'm also going to add in the door frame, doing the same thing, except I'm not adding in the line at the bottom here. I'm connecting it right to the ground. I'm also going to add in the door handle. Oh, and the frame for the top window here. So in my original sketch, I also added in peppermints along the bottom of the house. And I kind of went with like a medium-ish sized circle, and I just went across the bottom of the house. And I put one on the other side of the door as well. So the final sketching part that we are adding to the house is just some icing, like icicles, I guess. Um, so I kind of just did like really long triangles coming from the top, or from the bottom of the roof. And I'm going to go in and erase the lines of our roof, like our original line for our roof, just to kind of clean up our sketch here a bit. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So this is the finished pencil for our house here. Um, I would, I'm now just going to go in and erase some of my really dark lines or any overlapping lines I have. Um, yeah, and I'll just wait for a minute before we continue. All right. So to kind of add to our scene here, I'm going to add in um kind of a back line of where our snow or frosting would be. Um, and then I'm going to add in a kind of squiggly line coming from the door here, and this is going to be our path. And for the path, I'm going to use like M&Ms or round candies. And because we are kind of on like a flatter plane for the ground here, I'm putting in ovals rather than circles. So we can kind of add a little bit of depth to our gingerbread house here. And then, like the house, I'm just gonna erase any of the dark lines or the overlapping lines that I have. So this is where we're going to start deviating just a little bit more from my sketch, and I'm going to add in a candy cane. So I kind of start with a half circle, and then I just draw one line all the way down to where I want the candy cane to end. And I'm going to add a little baseline there and then follow the same shape. All right, we're also going to add in a Christmas tree cookie beside our candy cane here. So similar to the way we did the ornament 2 weeks ago, we're going to add one triangle and then another triangle that goes underneath that one, and then another one underneath that. And I'm going to erase all of the lines this time um, on the inside here. So we're kind of just left with that outside shape. And I'm also going to add in our stump. And erase that line on the inside here as well. So the next step for our tree here is to add on the icing. And because it's a cookie, we're going to go just on the inside of the outline there and add in a triangle with like a scalloped edge on the bottom. So I'll show you again for the next layer here. I'm just going in with a scalloped edge. And then for the last tier, the same thing. All right, so I'm going to go in and erase all of my overlapping lines now. All the ornaments and stuff we're going to add just with pastel. So you won't have to worry about that. I'm then going to add in just a little bit more detail for our snow here and go over the base of our things that we've put on the ground, just so it looks like they are kind of standing in uh, the ground like that. So I'm going to do the same for the candy cane and a little bit on the house corner here as well. So I'm just kind of doing bumpy lines like so. So this is our finished sketch here. So this is going to be our like foundation for this piece. Um, yeah, and I'll wait for a minute and then we will get started on some pastels. All right. So we're gonna get started on some pastels, and we are going to start off with the main house. So like the main color of the house. Um, so because it's a little bit um of like a big space on the page, we're going to add in a little bit of texture to our house here. So I've got three different colors of brown. I've got a medium tone, a light tone, and a dark tone. Um, so these are the three colors of brown that I'm using. Um, like I said, like a medium tone, a light tone, and a dark tone. And we're going to start out with the lightest tone here and color in all of the house. So I'm just erasing the last little bit of pencil lines I still have. You can erase the lines between the different stories. I completely forgot to say that. Um, but you can erase those. And starting off with the lighter tone of brown, we are going to fill in most of our house here. So the way I like to do it is kind of outline the area. So kind of go around everything that needs to be avoided when you're coloring in something like this. So I kind of go around and I trace over the edges and then I go over the line a couple of times just to make sure it's like a solid line. And I'm just filling in all of the space here. So this might take a little while to color all of this in. Um, yeah, so just a tip for coloring big areas like this, keeping your pastel straight up from the page helps you color it in. And if you do that for a little while, you'll get the edge back that you can use for some smaller parts. So when I'm coloring something in like this that I need a bit of a sharper edge and a lot colored in, I'll kind of switch between coloring in the main area and outlining everything. So if I'm not getting very clear lines, I will switch to um, coloring in a big area and then switch back to coloring in a small area with that sharper edge. So in the new year, when we start up again, like I said, we're going to be doing pencils. Um, and with um, the pencil unit, we're going to go into some things like perspective. Um, so we're going to draw some houses in um, using perspective lines. So that'll be uh, a little bit of a challenge, but we're probably going to spend 2 weeks on it and just, yeah, because it's very useful to learn how to use perspective when you're doing art. Um, most of the art that I do is either drawing people or drawing environments. Um, so I use a lot of perspective, and that's why I kind of want to go over it when we do sketching in the new year, just so we can do some more complicated drawings. And if you guys had suggestions for materials and stuff that you would like to do, we are going to do a, a couple of weeks on inking. So um, we're going to do it with brushes and black ink for a couple of weeks. And if you guys had any other mediums that you'd like to use, please let me know. Um, yeah. I have given you my email before, but if you'd like, I can put it in the chat at the end of class again if you'd like to email me um, materials you'd like to use or anything like that. Or if you had things you'd like to learn to draw, you can also send me that. So I have colored in all of the base of my house here, and I will just wait for another minute before we get started on adding some texture to it. All right, so for some texture to our house here, I'm going to start off with a darker color, and I'm just going to add in little kind of dots, and you kind of want to like cluster them together just to add some like differentiation, just like, yeah. So I'm kind of just adding in little spots of these darker like dots around the place. I'm then going to go in with my medium color and go almost over top of all of those dots that we made. So doing the same kind of technique of just adding a bunch of dots and going over the same kind of areas. And this is just kind of adding in just a little bit of extra texture, just making it look a little bit more gingerbread-y. Like that. And while we have our browns out, I am going to take the lightest brown and fill in our windows. So leaving the window frames white and just filling in the inside of our windows. And you can do this for all the windows and the door, just adding in that color. You can add the texture into the windows as well, but when we add in uh, the rest of the window frames, you won't really have like big open spaces. So um I don't think it really needs it as much. The door I would say would could use some texture though. So I'm going to add in the texture on the door after this. Also, while I'm using this light brown, I'm going to do the tree cookie as well. So with a flatter edge, I'm going over the tree here, adding in this color. All right, you can put the brown pastels away when you're finished. Um, and I will wait just another minute before we keep going, as this was quite the big area to color in. All right, so the next color we are going in with is some white, and we are going to add in some details on our house here. You do want to make sure that your white is pretty clean. You probably will have to clean off your white quite a bit throughout this process. But now I'm just going through and adding in our window panes here, just kind of cleaning them up and adding little drips of frosting coming from them. This is when we're also adding in the rest of our window frame here. Just adding in that kind of cross sign in the middle. And doing that for all of the windows. And for the door, I'm adding kind of a squiggly line going around it, just to add some fun icing to it. And the final thing I'm doing with the white on the house here is adding in a little string for our lights that go across the house. All right, so now we kind of get to decorate our gingerbread house here. So I'm grabbing a green and a red. I'm also going to get out a yellow and a light purple and a light pink. Oh, and a medium blue. I will swatch these all for you, but you can kind of pick whatever colors you'd like for this. It's kind of like at your liberty to decorate it however you would like. So yeah, but you can follow along with how I'm adding in the candies, and these are all the colors I'm using. All right. So we're going to get started off with the gumdrops on the roof. So I'm going to be using the pink and purple, and I'm going to start off with the pink and add um, one shade or one color on the bottom edge and then the side of our gumdrops. And I'm doing uh for the left side of the roof, I'm doing lines on the left, and then for the right side, I'm doing lines on the right. Then I'm going to use a light purple and color in the rest of it and kind of blend the two colors together. So now I'm going to be using the red and green to make some lights, and some decorations for the windows. I'm also going to be using the blue for window decorations as well. So I'm kind of adding in circles along this line for our lights, and then going in with the red and alternating them like that. I'm also going to do these dots around the top of the windows here. So on the circular window and the door, I'm going to be using the blue instead of green and red. And the yellow is just for the door handle. So I'm going to add in um, patterns around the window like that at the top. So I'm kind of doing the same idea with the red or the green, but I'm just not putting another color in between all of my dots. And I'm going to do that for the top of the door as well. I'm then going to take my red and go around the outside of the peppermints and kind of draw lines going from the outside to the middle. For some reason, my red pastel is very soft, so lots of this is going to look a little bit messy. While I have the red out, I'm also going to add stripes on our candy cane. So I'm just adding in some or diagonal lines, and they kind of curve when they get to towards the top there. I'm also going to fill in our path here with this red. So I'm kind of choosing randomly what ones to color in, but just coloring in just about half of them. The other half are going to be green, but I'm using a lighter green. So rather than the dark green, I'm using this lighter green for it. So in just a second here, we're going to move on to coloring in our tree cookie. So I'll swatch all the colors that I'm using for you, and then we will do that. So for the tree, you want three green colors. So I'm using a lighter green, a medium green, and a dark green. Those three greens and a yellow. You can also get away with only doing two colors, and um, so I'll show you really quick on this page what I mean. So rather than having a light color on top and then a medium color in the middle and a dark color on the bottom, you can use your medium color on top and then the dark color and then the same medium on the bottom. So you can do either of those for your tree. I'm going to be doing this one on the right. And yeah. right, so there is the base for our tree, and I'm just putting my green away. So you can so for the yellow that I pulled out, I'm going to be doing ornaments. But you can kind of pick whatever color you'd like. Um, yeah, so I'm just doing some dots in our tree here. So if you see mine, how you can't really see a lot of the yellow, um, something you can do to fix that is put some white down and then put yellow on top of it. So it won't like completely um fix a really like dark color as your background, but if you put just a little bit of white, then it will help lighten up the pastel you want to put on top of it. So you can see I put some white down, and if I go back in with the yellow, it'll be a little bit brighter. It's not by a whole lot, but it definitely makes a difference. All right, for the next step, we're just going to be adding in some color to our snow here. I'm just having a little bit of trouble with my blue pastel because it broke. All right, for the snow, you want to use a light blue, and I'm just gonna go over uh like wavy lines we did and go under the house a little bit here. And this is just to add some shadows and some dimension to our ground here. So I'm also going to add in a couple of like kind of random lines. And for this next part, you want to make sure your white is really clean. So mine is quite dirty. So you kind of want to get as much color off of it as you can. Um, so you can put it on the paper, like colored a bunch on your paper. You can also take, like I've shown before, you can take another piece of paper and just kind of cut off a lot of the color. So you can see I've got all the color off of my pastel, and now I'm just going to go in and kind of go on top of that blue and then blend it out just a little bit. So you don't have to color in all of the base because it's mostly snow, but just kind of blending those blues into our ground here. Just like that. So it just kind of livens up the ground there a bit. You can also take your blue and add that line in that we drew for kind of our background, and then do the same thing with the white. So now we're kind of just in adding little details kind of a time. So I'm going to add a star on top of our tree here. So adding in a star. You can add some green to your candy cane if you'd like. It's kind of um, just adding in little things that'll give it a little bit more life now. Um, so I'm going to add some sprinkles on the roof um, just by taking our red and green. Oh, that's the wrong red. And just doing very little lines. So going in very lightly and just adding in some sprinkles. And you can do this in the snow around the gingerbread house as well. I'm going to do that. Um, yeah, you can also add in a little bit of a line on your tree, and yeah, it just looks like a garland. You can do that in any color, really. Um, yeah, so this is our lesson for today. And like I said, if you had any suggestions for the new year, if you had any materials or things you'd like to draw in the new year, you can let me know. I'll also put my email in the chat right now, if you'd like to email me. Oh, whoops.
No class next week.
No class next week. This is the last class this year.
Okay, then see
Um,
you.
on the 13th is our next class, the 13th of January.
Okay, see you 13. Okay, thank you.
All right, so there is my email. If you have any suggestions or things like that, please let me know. Yes, so our next class is the 13th of January.
Okay,
I
thank
hope
you.
hope you all have a happy holidays or Merry Christmas or Happy Christmas, whatever you celebrate. I hope you guys have a good break.
Okay.